And a very good Monday morning. Welcome into Five Clubs. Great to have you with us here on Golf Channel, but also if you're leaving the house, get in the car, you know it is PGA Tour Radio, Channel 92 on Sirius XM. I am Gary Williams. Great to have you with us. This program, as you know, is always brought to you by Century Insurance. They are right by you. Business insurance needs are met and kept at Century. Plus, they have great investments in the game of golf. No, there'll be no Century to start the year on the PGA Tour, but they are invested with the United States Golf Association and the First Tee. Of course, Golf Pride, when it comes to grips and more options and better materials, Golf Pride is the standard. And then Peter Millar, when it comes to having options, my gosh, their fall line, it is getting to be that time of the year where you may need a top coat, or you need layers, or you need full zip jackets, or quarter zips, or cashmere, or performance wear. They've got it all. They have the most robust line of clothing you could ask for, and it is so much more than golf. It is a lifestyle brand. We got a lot to get to on a Monday edition here of Five Clubs. Ron Green Jr. is going to join me in studio. Looking forward, as always, to a great conversation with one of the best writers. He was honored in 2023 with the Lifetime Achievement Award in Journalism from the PGA of America. His thoughts on a number of items, not only looking back, but looking ahead to 2026. And look, I love technology. I'm not great with technology, but I must say, yesterday afternoon, I was transported from Orchard Park, New York, to my home in South Charlotte in 15 minutes. Yeah, I went to the Bills-Panthers game. It was a Bills home game. So I got from Orchard Park to South Charlotte in 15 minutes. What a joy. Technology is amazing. And one other note, football-wise, Texas, you're next. I'm sorry to Missouri and Missouri alums, George Savaricas and Justin Ray, you were in the way. Vandy rolls on. All right, let's get to what we're talking about here on a Monday, because the PGA Tour, look, these fall events are usually things that we go, what a great story. Oh my, I didn't know that much about him. Well, that applies in every way to the guy who just won. Let's take a look at the leaderboard of this event yesterday, the Bank of Utah Championship out there at Black Desert Resort. And what an amazing spot that is. And Utah is on fire. Michael Brennan, speaking of being on fire, went to school up the road, up I-77 in Winston-Salem at Wake Forest. He wins by 4 over Rico Hoey. Much more on Brennan, but just some notes on these guys in the top 10. Rico Hoey goes from 91 to 61 in the FedEx Cup standings. He now has a really good chance for those exemptions in the Signature Series events at the beginning of 2026. David Ford, the kid from the University of North Carolina, good week for him. You see all those tied for thirds. Torbjorn Olesen from 116 to 97 in the FedEx Cup. We know that number 100 is very, very important. You see the name Justin Lauer. He goes from 129 to 109. He's got a reasonable chance with some events left to get into the top 100. Pearson Coody goes from 133 to 113. Matt McCarty was looking to go back-to-back. He goes from 84 to 74, gives himself some nice cushion there. And note Brandt Snedeker and Max Homa. For Brandt Snedeker, look, this is somebody who has been dealing with injury. He was invested, obviously, as a vice captain of the United States Ryder Cup team. He had missed 10 of 14 cuts, his first top 10 since the Memorial back at the beginning of June. And Max Homa, who disclosed that he's been dealing with a bone spur, he finishes in the top 10. Just outside the top 10 was Billy Horschel, who is coming off basically losing a season to injury, played a little bit overseas, played in the BMW PGA Championship. He finished in a tie for 11th. But the story is the winner. That's always the story, but in this particular case, it's kind of a recurring story, because it just goes to show you that if you were not paying attention to Michael Brennan because you were focused on a host of other young men, whether it's guys like Jackson Coyven, who is staying in school for another year at Auburn University, or Ben James, who's still at the University of Virginia, and I can go on and on and on. Michael Brennan was one of those guys. And there's a lot to unpack here, But one of the things about young stories or any story, it does reinforce that, yeah, we know they do it alone. They hit the shots. They got to live with the consequences and the outcomes and the successes and the failures. But really, we all know that there are a band of people that have known little Mikey Brennan since the beginning. And Todd Lewis of Golf Channel posted this wonderful video of his home club, River Creek in Leesburg, Virginia, Northern Virginia. You think all of those people have not been invested in every shot, every result, every outcome that Michael Brennan has had? Because Michael Brennan obviously showed when his parents gave him that 7-iron that he slept with at a very tender age that, yeah, that kid Michael Brennan, like, he can really play. Like, can you believe it? Michael Brennan is going to play college golf at Wake Forest. Hey, did you hear Michael won his first college tournament? Hey, did you hear Michael won for the 4th time? Hey, did you hear that Michael just won the ACC championship for the 2nd time? Michael Brennan is a reflection of many things. One, which is something you hear me say on this program periodically, that for all the skills and all the traits that these aliens, these witches who play this game at this elite level have, the most refined, most important, most valuable skill, the skill of winning. And how do you define that? Well, when things get hairy, when things get kind of disorienting, when you get into the blender late, for whatever reason, you handle it. Michael Brennan won as much at Wake Forest as a guy named Curtis Strange. Was he any good? So he knows how to win. And when he left Wake Forest, by virtue of something else that has proven to be whatever the pathway is that you gain entry to by way of PGA Tour U, whether it is getting that golden ticket, that Wonka golden ticket, where you bypass everything and you're fully exempt, like Jackson Coyven is as he walks around the plains of Auburn with that ticket in his back pocket, still playing college golf, or Gordon Sargent before him, or Ludwig Oberg before him. That is the ultimate ticket. But there are other tickets to be earned. Fully exempt status on the Korn Ferry Tour. And in the case of Michael Brennan, he finished outside the top 10 in PGA Tours. So what did he get? Well, he got entry and he got status on PGA Tour Americas. Where is that? Who cares? Well, it's all over and it's primarily Canada, but he got that as a platform to play. And what did he do to take advantage of that? Not just the starts. I'll win again, and then I'll win again. And what did that get him? That got him immediate elevation and promotion to the Korn Ferry Tour. So when he showed up in Utah, he knew that he was already fully exempt on the Korn Ferry Tour. And by the way, Ryan French of the Monday Q, who does such a fabulous job of really explaining and sharing who these people are before we have any idea who they really are. But I certainly had familiarity with Michael Brennan. He had already qualified to play in a U.S. Open a couple of years ago. And oh, by the way, on that particular day, he birdied 17 and 18, his 35th and 36th holes of U.S. Open qualifying, just to get in a 4-man playoff, and then he dumped his second shot into a greenside bunker. He's up against the face, and he hits a phenomenal bunker shot, and all of a sudden he's off to L.A. in a U.S. Open. He's not normal. They all are really not that normal, but Michael Brennan, if you listen to his peers, some who got a little taste of him on PGA Tour Americas, and then others who saw him this week, he's put together, check. He can hit it forever. A lot of them can, but check. But he also has, again, back to the thing that some just have. And some have it, like Scotty Scheffler, at a level that makes you generational. Others, like someone like Nick Taylor. And you listen closely enough to someone like Joel Dahmen, who knows him, that when it gets wonky, like in a golf tournament, like he's in contention, you're going, nice story, he'll go away. And Joel Dahmen will say about Nick Taylor, no, he won't. He just can handle this stuff. Michael Brennan clearly can handle what it's like to be in position to win the golf tournaments. and now he is fully exempt on the PGA Tour. And the last thing that he's proven once again, that these young people, the young men and the young women who are playing at elite junior golf, like we saw with the young man who won the U.S. Amateur, who's still in high school and then went off to the Walker Cup and was like, yeah, I know this is important and it's historic, but I'm going to show you that I am as composed and as poised as anybody. Michael Brennan is precocious. And he's precocious because he's got the goods. They don't wait in line anymore. They cut the line. Remember that great scene in Curb Your Enthusiasm when that woman did, the chat and cut, where she acted like she knew the guy who was closer to the front of the line than Jeff and Larry? And Larry looked at Jeff and said, she's doing the chat and cut. Michael Brennan just did the hit and cut. He cut the line. He's on tour. And watch out. And as Johnson Wagner, who's going to be in the studio tomorrow with Brendan Young, and yes, we get caught up in moments, but Johnson's equipped to talk about this stuff at the highest level. He said, this guy's going to be on Ryder Cup teams. 5 days ago, most of you, and if you're watching right now, the Monday after an NFL season, 1, I love you, and I mean it, but 2, you know most of these people. But many didn't know that much about him. He's a winner now. And some people who really know think he is going to be among the best American players very, very soon. That's why what the fall currently is and what it eventually is going to be, I don't know. But these stories eventually get told. We just don't know how long we have to wait to really hear them and see them. Because talent, most importantly, it don't hide. May hide for a little bit, but eventually he gets found. Michael Brennan, you've been found. 22 under, 3rd start, 7th player since 1970. In your 3rd start or less, to just go, I'll play the tour now. And I was playing PGA Tour Americas like 10 seconds ago. By the way, the guy who did it in his 1st start, and I'll never forget it, Jim Benepe. Remember that name at of all places? Butler National in the Western Open. The fall matters. We just don't know what it's going to look like. Someone who might give us a little clarity on that is going to join me when we continue. It is a Monday edition of 5 Clubs right here on Golf Channel, but also great to have that home on Sirius XM's Channel 92 PGA Tour Radio. Ron Green Jr. with me in studio next. Back in on this Monday. Great to have you with us here. It is 5 Clubs on Golf Channel and PGA Tour Radio, Sirius XM's Channel 92. This segment brought to you by Golf Pride. When it comes to having grip options, and I mean through the bag, they have more. Their materials are better. I've said this. My putter grip has been on my putter for more than 2 years. And I play more than 5 times a year, as the guy to my left can attest to. That guy is one of the best writers the game has. And before him, it was same name, but without the junior, Ron Green Jr. They've been covering the game. His dad was so good, and so is Ron. He was the Lifetime Achievement Award from the PGA of America in Journalism in 2023. It's great to have you with us. Good to see you. Nice. Did you stomach yesterday like I did down the road here at Bank of America Stadium?
I was in Buffalo yesterday. It was remarkable.
Isn't it nice to get home so quickly from Buffalo?
Yeah, it is. It was quite a football weekend for the Green family. We were in Chapel Hill Saturday.
Wow.
And watched the Tar Heels come that
so close.
I'll give them credit for trying to win the ball game, and then going back to the Carolina game yesterday, and it was. It's fun to watch Josh Allen. It is really fun. And obviously they don't play here often. They're very glamorous. And there are quite a lot of transplanted Buffalo people who live here. And every one of them, I think, showed up.
It was a bowl game. And one one fan base bought a lot more tickets than the other. It was something. I'd never seen him, by the way, in person.
I don't think he'd played in Charlotte before.
Yeah, I hadn't seen him anywhere. And, of course, he's a lover of golf like so many of these quarterbacks are. You and I are going to try to get to as much as we can with you. We're a month out from the Ryder Cup. And the hysteria and the passion and the intensity and the anger and a lot of other stuff that was voiced in the immediate aftermath doesn't mean it didn't have merit. I think a lot of it did. And I don't think a lot of it has gone away. A month out, what is standing up in your mind? Let's start with the positive. What about that week will you remember that you were wildly impressed with?
Well, the way the European team played the first 2 days, I think you can't underestimate that. I mean, they were perfect. I mean, you know, the Americans are putting into a coffee cup. They're putting into a mop bucket out there.
Yeah.
It looked like everything they rolled seemed to go in. And I just think they were so prepared and so ready for everything. And you can be really good. And, you know, there are all sorts of numbers about, you know, they shoot 16 under one day in foursomes and win 3. The next day we shoot 16 under and lose 3. That's how, you know, they counterpunch every punch we might have thrown. So there's that. And I think the way the Americans played on Sunday, you know, they could have just let it go away. They didn't. They came back and really made an effort there. I think, and I just think being in their interview afterwards, how they reacted to Keegan Bradley, like they really seemed to show support for him. Like they know what was coming because the captain, when you lose like that, that's what happens. And it sort of stayed with me that I think it was genuine there. Like, hey, it's not his fault. You know, we just got beat.
The on the negative side, regrettable side, whatever. What is something that stands out for you?
Well, I think obviously the fan behavior.
Sure.
We knew it was coming. It was sort of not provoked, but they talked about it. Everybody could see it like a thunderstorm coming for years. And then
for years.
Yeah, I mean, well, I said, well, Bethpage could be the last Ryder Cup because if it goes the wrong way, I mean, that was, you know, hyperbolic, I guess. But, I mean, it turned out that way. I mean, the way Rory got treated and others. Now, granted, 95% of the people are pretty good, but that 5%
can drown out 95%.
They really, really can. And, yeah, it was just, I mean, to think you had somebody leading cheers like they did that morning and maybe being a little tone deaf in some places afterwards. You know, I think it made me feel like you almost need to tap the brakes a little bit on the Ryder Cup. It's gotten so big and sort of pushed it over the top. I mean, it is a great event. And when you're watching them play, I mean, it's captivating. It's like nothing else. But it was just, we're going to talk about that behavior for a long time, I think, and use that like, okay, let's draw it back.
I've talked to a fair number of people from the PGA of America who are close to it. Not just, and they're all, you know, whether you're a member or not, you're invested, but I'm talking about people involved, and they've used a term overwhelmingly, reset. What does that mean? Well, if this is reset, in what way? What would be tweaked? What would be altered in your mind?
Yeah, I think partly would be messaging that you need to get out there. This is not what we want it to be. Now, how it's going to be at Adair Manor, we'll see. Obviously, it'll look and feel different over there.
Yep.
But I think everything has been scaled to such a degree with the Ryder Cup, and I know it funds organizations, it funds, you know, pays salaries and allows them to do other things, but there's so much of it now. You know, if you're a spectator there's 4 groups on the golf course and there's 50,000 people. You don't have to be a math major to figure out it's really hard to go see much golf. I think maybe, not boutiquey, but maybe you bring it back a little bit. And obviously people don't care, it seems like, how much they have to pay to be part of these things. But fewer people, but a better experience, maybe some of that.
The Jerry Maguire model, the mission statement from Jerry Maguire, less.
Yeah.
I understand exactly what you're saying, and I just, look, I don't think Adair Manor is going to sound or look like Bethpage. Bethpage was what it was. It almost fed itself as we got to it. You mentioned Keegan Bradley. The interview that he did, you know, you don't have to hear his words to feel the sadness, to feel this anguish that he's living with. Look, forever's a long time, and he said, I'm going to live with this forever. I get it. I think about people we know. I think about Jay Billis, who, look, the guys who were on that 86 Duke team, they'll never forget not beating Louisville in the championship game after winning 37 games that year. What do you think his future immediately looks like as it relates to this event?
Well, I think he was so invested. And, I mean, even before Bethpage, he talked about the suitcase and not unpacking it and all that he carried with that event. And you're right. I think losses stay with people. I remember my dad did a thing years ago. He got Bill Walton and David Thompson on the phone for Sports Illustrated talking about the famous 1974 season. And I remember he asked Bill Walton, how often do you think about that game? And he said, well, only every day.
And it's not like he didn't win anything else.
He won everything else, but he didn't win that. That one stayed with him. And yeah, I think, yeah, it's going to stay with Keegan Bradley. I think he should, you know, he's in an interesting position now because I would assume if Tiger wants to be the captain next time, he gets that choice. But if Tiger decides he doesn't want to do that, I mean, I could make a case for Keegan Bradley coming back because of his passion for it. But he would have to decide. I think the playing versus the captain thing was, I thought it could be done. In retrospect, I see it became a much bigger thing, and he made the right decision. But I just, you know, people are wired differently, and it is so deeply ingrained into him and the passion and the America thing and all that, that, you know, I felt for him. I really wanted him to succeed because I think he tried to do all the right things and went about it the right way. And sure, would they set the golf course up differently now or maybe change a pairing or two? But I think he went about it where when you go and you don't want to be second guessing what you do. Now maybe when it doesn't work out, you can go back and think about it. But I think he'll get past it. But yeah, it's going to stay with him because, I mean, that's the chance. He may only get one chance and it didn't go the way he wanted.
Yeah, Ron, it's interesting because, look, Jim Furyk was part of much more losing, was a losing captain. Keegan Bradley was on two teams. And then he was put in this, he was literally thrust into this captaincy, and they lost. For somebody with, relatively speaking, a modest history with participation, he has these biting memories, one of being sat on a Saturday afternoon when he and Phil are rolling through everybody, and that will be one of the great decisions that will be analyzed forever. Back to the idea of if Tiger passes, put him back in there. I honestly think that at his age, let him pursue being on one more team. Let him try to be a part of a winning team as a player. And if 4 years from now, 8 years from now, you want to revisit him and give him another go, why not let him try realistically to play on one more team?
Yeah, I see that because I think he would have been a really good asset to this team as a
question.
player. And
yes.
That's why I kept thinking he could do it because they were going to need him. I mean, we know how good that European team is. And Keegan Bradley's
they're going nowhere.
They are not going anywhere. And, I mean, other than the fact that if you want to play the statistics game, I think he was 106th in strokes gained putting, and you know what putting is in the Ryder Cup. But I think, you know, that's the moment. If I'm in his position now, I would want to try to play one more time. I think that could be my redemption. Let me go out there and, whether I'm playing with whomever, go win a couple points and you know, win overseas, which we know is virtually impossible. So I think that's the ideal path. Yeah, except for them. So yeah, I really would have liked to have seen him be part as a player because I think he's won twice in 12 months and it seemed to be funneling there. Everything was going there, and then, you know, he had to make that decision and understand why he did.
Yeah, I do too, and I supported what he did. I also think that, you know, he is somebody who, you know, he even said it when he got, you know, a lot of people think he got snubbed on the previous team, that he was not somebody, whether it was part of the boys club, whatever. Yeah. I thought that the way that he managed all the responsibility, I was wildly impressed. I thought that the way he shared his thoughts, his feelings, his reflections, all of that was like, that was somebody who has grown, and you and I have watched his entire career. Yeah. I've never heard him express himself with such depth and such introspection, and I'd like to believe that it's going to serve him well However it serves him, I don't know. I hope he gives it one more time. As it relates to Europe,
I do think we see him differently now.
Very much
He was, as he said, he was sort of the outsider by choice. I mean, he sort of put him there and was not part of that inner group. But now I think everybody came to really admire him, came to know him better because you knew he was a Boston guy and all that. But now you see this guy, and he was such an open book and shared. I mean, those are, for our business, we love when guys share stuff like that. But it's hard to do, I think, and he was not afraid to do it.
No.
And I think now Keegan Bradley is in a whole different place in terms of public perception.
Totally agree. The European team, we knew before that like a third of their team, they were better players than they were 2 years ago. Robert McIntyre is a better player than he was a couple of years ago. You could argue Victor Hovland is mercurial. I'm not going to say emphatically he was. But certainly Tommy Fleetwood is that guy.
Yes.
Ron, what's so interesting about him is that we expect these guys that we're going to see you as the best you're going to be, and you may sustain it like Scheffler is likely to do by your late 20s. He was good already. He's 34.
Yes.
Is he now, would you put him to start 2026 comfortably and emphatically among the 5 best players that you think this is not a run, this is who he is going into 26?
Yeah, I mean, I think there are other guys who I might have had in there, but I think given what he's done and the way he's played and knowing what confidence does to players, I mean, he had to get that last bit of it. I mean, he had won in Europe and all that, but I think he's just playing with such confidence, and he expects now to do it. He's such a sort of huggable character, too. People love him because of how he plays, obviously because of how he looks, but he's got this he's had this amazing grace about him, and how he handled, in the same way Keegan Bradley opened up. Tommy Fleetwood never hid from the disappointments. He let
no,
you
he
share.
didn't.
He said, here's what happened. I felt terrible. I thought I was going to win. I didn't. I'm very hurt. Blah, blah. So I think there's a magnetism to that. People, they want to come to you. And I would argue that Scottie Scheffler, Rory McIlroy, and Tommy Fleetwood are the 3 most popular players in the game right now.
Wow.
And I think, depending on the order, people would have different orders. But I think, when they get to the Open Championship in England, he might be the guy.
Yeah, he exhibited something that when you see it, grace is easy when you're winning.
Yeah. Grace
is not as achievable when you suffer biting losses. So you'd put him ahead of DeChambeau.
Yeah, I put Bryson in his own. He's in his own orbit.
Well, that's fair.
So yeah, but I mean that in a good way. Yeah, I mean he's sort of like, okay, here's Bryson. So yeah, but I think okay, maybe there's 4 players then.
Yeah, but what it does is it lends itself to conversations like this, but storylines, and even Xander winning again, these guys winning late and sustaining it and believing that he will be who he is again, like he was in 24 again in 2026. But your point about a star to me is a star. It can't just be popularity. Achievement has to be running stride for stride with people's likability. And he has that in a way with the Ryder Cup. He won again in India. He wins the Tour Championship. He's a star, there's no doubt. All right, we got much more to get to with Ron, including, he mentioned Rory. Thoughts about Rory, because Rory did something this year that he probably didn't think he could check all the boxes, and he did. But he also is shared to a level that you wonder, will he continue to do that? We get to that. And is Tiger's future as cloudy as it's ever been? Great to have you with us. Bottom of the hour, Monday edition of 5 Clubs Golf Channel and PGA Tour Radio on Sirius XM. Back with Ron right after this. Back in this Monday edition of 5 Clubs on Golf Channel and PGA Tour Radio's Sirius XM's Channel 92. In this segment brought to you by Century. When it comes to business insurance needs, I promise you they will meet them. They are right by you. Ron Green Jr. continues with me from the Global Golf Post. You can read his stuff there. And you've been reading a green for a long, long time. His dad, who was truly one of the great writers of all time, and he has followed suit. He's won so many different awards. I'm just curious, who would your dad be particularly, who would he have a real affinity for right now? Somebody you would want to have a long-form conversation with. Somebody who he'd be enthralled by the way they go about things. Who would it be?
Rory. I just think he's so theatrical. I mean,
Yes.
and he is so willing to share his opinions. And there's just, I mean, he's almost bigger than life. He's the great character in golf now because, I mean, in the same way we remember Tiger in '97 at Augusta, or when he came back and won again, whatever, a few years ago, Rory's win there. I mean, that's the legend stuff. That's Nicklaus in '86, and being out there and feeling that moment when it happened. I just think and we've had the benefit of having him for a long time, and I think we get him for a much longer time going forward because I don't think he's going anywhere. But he's the one who just, there's a depth, there's a charisma, there's a style in the way he plays. I mean, he like the rest of us, we all like to go watch him play.
Yeah, and and even in winning the Masters, I know there's some people who will say, well, gosh, he tried to this and he tried to that. And yeah, you damn right he tried. I mean, he did. But to me, the number of times he had to display resilience in about a 75-minute period, it was unlike anything we've ever seen, and I find it to be insanely impressive that he got up off the mat, not once, not twice, 5 times in 75 minutes, starting on 13, and then, anyway, as it relates to him, his year, there's no way he could have thought, because I know it was primarily, trying to win at Augusta and the Road Ryder Cup, but interspersed was doing something that I don't think people appreciate enough. There are not many multiple-time Players Champion winners,
right.
And he's not somebody, because his greatest weapon is literally kind of cast to the side because he can't take advantage of it with his driver. The Players, I think, is underrated this year. He gets the win at Pebble, which is a cathedral, the Irish Open, which is intensely personal, and then the Road Ryder Cup. Scottie Scheffler was the best player. Is Rory's year one that will be very hard to find if you look at it from all the things that I just said? That's one of the better years in totality that we have seen.
Yes, and I would think richly satisfying to him. Now there were, he comes, Quail Hollow doesn't do anything. The PGA has those other moments where, but understandable when you take the wide look at it because of what he invested, what Augusta meant to him and all that. He does play on emotion, and it drives him so much that to have all of those things, I would think there's some really, really good red wine one night soon, just like, if not already, like, let's raise a toast to this year and think about it. Because, I mean, he was talking about the Ryder Cup 2 years ago.
Yes.
And, you can go back to him in tears at Whistling Straits and all that, and what things like that mean to him. And it's one thing to set those goals for yourself, but then to go achieve them and know you've got sort of the weight of expectation beyond yourself, but the world watching you. That's why I say he's a great character. He's bigger than golf in a lot of ways, and I've always thought I was really lucky to come along when Tiger was out there.
Sure.
And now we got Rory, because he drives people who don't pay attention to golf toward watching it.
He does. His righteousness is also something that's valuable. Some people may not particularly like it at all times. He's evolved. I appreciate people who have an opinion and then realize, you know what? I've learned more. I've got a wider view of things. My opinion is different, and we can go through the litany of things, starting with the Olympics, that he really took a shot at in its return, and now he is saying that is the last box to check. To medal there. Do you think his righteousness will continue, that he will share to the degrees and the levels to which he has? Because he's been burned.
He has been burned a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, didn't he take a shot at the Ryder Cup early? Like it's
of course,
just an
before Celtic
exhibition.
Manor.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I think he's grown. We've all done and said things like, yeah, I was.
Yeah,
so
I wish I knew more.
Yeah, I was so much older then. I'm younger than that now. So, I think he's careful in certain. I think he's protective in certain areas. My guess, he's probably more protective personally than he has been. I think professionally, he knows what his voice can do. He's sort of advocated for global schedules.
Yes.
And the fact that, he goes and plays in India and does some other things. He's sort of set that schedule for himself now. Now, whether other people or organizations follow and create that, it's one thing to say you're going to do something, but he's doing it. He goes out and plays those places because he sees the value there. And I think that's what the game needs. You need a leader. And he tried to be a leader in the negotiations and all that's gone on with the political business side of golf. And, and when he can then add to what he does on the golf course, he is the most prominent voice. Tiger, obviously, he means a huge amount to the tour, and the fact that he is now, I would have never guessed he'd be involved the way he is in the business side of golf. That's a great upset to me. I would have thought he'd say, no, I'll let y'all take care of it. But it's good. I think the game needs those people to take those roles. And, going all the way back to what Arnold Palmer and Jack Nicklaus did, you sort of need those lights. And maybe they don't get everything just right, but I think they have the consciousness and sort of the guiding principles that are important.
Look, he knows his voice is valuable and that it's weighty, and that it can whether it's an agent for change, it's an agent to have more conversation about whatever the subject matter is. He was somebody who made a choice. Now, while he is not playing a signature series event, here he is off in Houston. You'd think that didn't matter, and wasn't that helpful to that event? And it was more than just Houston. There's a gluttony of signature series events that really, from the Masters to post PGA, it's like, which one is not?
Yes.
Do you expect him at the Heritage the week after the Masters?
He's admitted Harbortown is not his favorite place.
Yes. So you miss him there. Miami, which is right before the happiest haunt he's got, which is here in Charlotte at the Truist in Quail Hollow. Him not playing a signature series event, I could argue, is as valuable or as much of an absence as the best player in the world for all the other reasons that we just pointed out.
Well, he skipped, Memorial last year, didn't he?
Yes.
I mean, Scotty
not much of a record there either, oddly.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that given where the tour was a few years ago and trying to fight off the money and all that stuff, and they create these signature events to keep the best players, and now there's so much money, they don't have to play them all. It's a nice problem to have if you're in that universe. I don't think Rory will play them all. I think he will play his schedule, and he's talked about trying to scale back and play where he wants to, do what he wants to. I mean, he's earned that. Sure, would the tour like to have him at all of them? I mean, they'd like him to play whatever 38 or 45 tournaments if he could. But I think we will see him at the places that best fit him. I can just imagine the build-up to Augusta again. It'll be totally different, but there's this whole other storyline now for that.
There is. You mentioned Tiger and him, allocating time and energy to places that we never associated with him at all. This latest procedure makes me wonder, even if it's in a way where you can just get to see him hit some shots, I don't know. And obviously you don't either. Where do you think his energy will be devoted over the next couple of years? Because the likelihood of him being able to play competitive golf is not great.
No. I think today is the 6th anniversary of his last win, the Zozo.
Which again gets lost for some. He was artistic. That was a virtuoso, turning back the clock even more so than this tactical kind of, I'll take all the punches and you'll all be on the mat at Augusta the previous April. He was in full flight with all of it.
And tied the 82 wins and all that, and that sort of didn't get probably quite the attention it deserved. I think Tiger wants to get the tour help guide the tour to whatever it's going to look like. And we can all speculate if it's going to start in late January and end in mid-August or whatever. I think they want to sort of condense it and you know, I go back to Brian Rolap's word, scarcity. I think there was a reason he used that word and has used it more than once. There's some sort of guiding light there. But I think Tiger wants to be, he's watched Jack Nicklaus and listened to Arnold Palmer. And he would go get counsel from those guys and listen. You know, maybe he didn't take everything they said and use it, but I think he sees himself in that role, in the opportunity to sort of help shape the game there. You know, he's got business. The TGL thing is something he's involved with. His course design. I would love to think we're going to see him play a little bit more. I went up to Sass and Cary a couple weeks ago to talk to guys about, hey, Tiger's going to be 50.
Right.
My timing was perfect because then out comes the news he just had another surgery. Like, well, we can put that on hold. They all were excited, hopeful he would come play a few Champions events. I mean, Ernie Els said, I sat down with him at Seminole and I mapped out his schedule for him. You need to play here, 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 and here. Now, you know, Tiger picks his spots, but it would be pretty cool if he was good enough or healthy enough that he could go do it. But I just can't imagine what the physical toll of all those surgeries. I mean, any of us who've had a little thing here, a knee or a hip or something, you feel a little bit of it no matter how well it's gone. And he's got, I mean, he's got the whole Grey's Anatomy book there.
No, he really does. We'll have you back because you mentioned Brian Rolap. I want to get your thoughts on where you think it might all be going. The 2 hires that he made within the last week or so are significant. Yes. These are not mid-level people. These are agents for change in a very, very real way. A chief commercial officer, an EVP over all of your communications. A lot of change coming. We'll have you back. Great to see you as always.
Thanks.
I'm glad that you got home from Buffalo like I did in 15 minutes.
Yes.
To South Charlotte. That is Ron Green Jr., Global Golf Post. That's where you can read all of his stuff. We come back, and those were winning words presented by Century. Business insurance needs are met with Century. We're back. Some thoughts on some college golf that you can watch today, tomorrow, and Wednesday, and why it was so important when it was created. And also, if you weren't paying attention, somebody earned a ticket to the Masters. We'll talk about that back on 5 Clubs right after this. Back in with a couple minutes to go here on this Monday edition of 5 Clubs. This segment is brought to you by Peter Millar. Going to an NFL game, it wasn't that cold, but it gave me an excuse to wear not 1, not 2, not 3, 4 layers. All of them Millar, all of them different weights, all of them different materials, and that's what you get. You get more options when it comes to what you need through the fall season into the winter months, from top coats and puffer jackets and vests and full zips and cashmere. They've got it all, including these sport coats, these ties, these pocket squares. It is the best lifestyle line that you could possibly find. So many of you wear Peter Millar. Go to petermillar.com. A ticket was punched, an invitation was earned at the Asia Pacific Amateur Championship this weekend. And the young man from Thailand, Fifo Lapaki, who is going to go and play in the Masters, congratulations to him. But it's also something that every time that this event is played, there's certain things I think about. And one in particular was Hideki Matsuyama, because Hideki Matsuyama, in the infancy of this event, won it. And then he showed up at the Masters the next spring, and he was the low amateur. And you're going, okay, you know, this young man can really play. And then soon after, he turned professional, and he won a professional golf tournament. And it's not as if Augusta National knows what's going to happen before it happens, but they have this clairvoyant quality to them that they really do understand emerging markets in golf. But more importantly, they understand markets that if you give that, and when I say market, I'm really talking about a region of the world, an opportunity for the best young players to come and play and to compete. And obviously, they're, you know, not even half the field is likely equipped to possibly win. It doesn't matter. because it gets back to something that I think is applicable to really anything in life, and that is that access to something that you have an interest in can be an inspiration for what your life can look like, for what your path can look like, whatever it is that your interest might be. And that's what they've done. They did it first with the Asia Pacific Amateur Championship, and then they did it subsequently after with the Latin America Amateur Championship. And the reason why there are more players from those regions of the world making their way to the International Series or the Japan Tour or the Latin America Tour is because those things were available to them. And that is true of the drive, chip, and putt in the Augusta National Women's Amateur. Those things matter to the growth, development, and where the game might be going. And speaking of where the game is going, the East Lake Cup, one of the great collegiate events. You can watch it today, this afternoon, tomorrow, and Wednesday on Golf Channel. Enjoy the college golf on a Monday. We're back with Johnson and Brendan, Wagyu and Filet in the studio tomorrow. Have a great Monday, everybody. For all of us here at 5 Clubs, see you on a Tuesday.